And Steve, I'd be curious for your view on this, which is, suppose it were Michelle Obama, where it's not going to be some sort of food fight on the convention floor. I just don't see a world in which Democrats could be flinging a lot of dirt at Gavin Newsom or even Kamala Harris or Gretchen Whitmer or Pritzker, a bunch of ambitious people who are going to hold no bar at taking down their fellow peers. If it's Michelle Obama as a cut above that, suppose I'm right on that theory. What do you think is the right mechanical path by which that outcome could actually play out?
You're going to laugh, but it's the smoke-filled room. And here's how that plays out. It's right in the DNC rules. Once they have a nominee, if that nominee is for some reason unable to run, whether they resign or are incapacitated or die, the group of people that gets to select who the next nominee would be the DNC chair, the Democratic leadership of the House and Senate, and the leadership committee of the Democratic Governors Association. So that hands the power directly to the Democratic elite, takes away mechanically any of the effects of the party primary process, and it actually avoids that convention floor fight. So how could this play out, right? Maybe you go through a convention process where normal order of business, we ignore what we saw with our own eyes at the debate, and Biden becomes the nominee because of the delegate votes on the floor of the convention. Then over the next couple of weeks, he resigns or it has some kind of illness that prevents him from moving forward as the nominee. That's when the smoke-filled room comes into play. Or what we've actually seen in the news over the last few days is that Democrats are looking to proceed with a plan they had put in place earlier to comply with Ohio's ballot access laws to virtually nominate who's going to be the presidential.
I actually think that second last path you laid out was probably actually the most plausible. I hadn't considered that one as closely because everybody's focused on, is it before the convention? Is it going to be this week? Is it going to be next week? Is it going to be at the Democratic nominating process at the convention itself at the DNC? I think the possibility that actually goes all the way through the DNC is more consistent with this idea of just push somebody over the finish line when they're still in the honeymoon phase. And that actually avoids that intra-party fight. And I do think that if Michelle Obama or Barack Obama or the combination of them stepped up and said, all right, in the wake of Biden suffering from illness. Now, how could you anticipate illness? In this case, it is obvious this man already suffers from that illness. I say that not in a denigrating way. I see it in a sad way, actually. Dementia is a sad condition that affects millions of Americans. Alzheimer's, Lewy body dementia, other forms of dementia, frontotemporal dementia. We don't know which, if any of those, Joe Biden has. But this is no laughing matter. If a man who already has that sickness, you already know that that actually is one of the two criteria, disability being one of them, for him to step aside after the convention. The way you laid that out actually makes me think that might be the likeliest possibility of all.